Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back to another video, and today I have a manga first impressions video for the series Monster by Naoki Urasawa. Now this is a series that is a little bit of a spoiler for my pickup video come the end of December, but without further ado, let's get into this first impressions. Now, to start off with, this series is definitely in the thriller vein. You are going to be on your edge of the seats, or at least for this first volume that I have read. You are going to want to continue reading as long as it takes for you to finish this volume, and as many volumes as you have until there are no more for you to read at any moment in time. But yeah, the series is rather dense for the most part. There are some pages with little dialogue, but for the most part, there is quite a lot of dialogue per page, so it can take a little bit longer than normal to get through, but it is definitely worth it. You get a lot of story in each one of these volumes, and with a series, you know, as good as this one is looking, that seems to be a very good thing for me. And to take a look at the build of the book itself, the series is of course put out by Viz Media under their signature imprint, and I am going to be talking about the perfect editions here, and they run for $20 US, as you can see up there in the corner, and they are quite nice. Not the nicest publications I have seen, but definitely very good. They come with these French flaps on the inside, which are quite large. I do like French flaps. That is always nice. These are 2-in-1s, and from what I hear, if you collect all of them and you arrange them in a 3x3, it forms a little wall with a bunch of pictures on it. Seeing as I don't have the other volumes, I cannot say for sure, but on the inside of the book, there's this kind of little translucent, sort of waxy paper that is, you know, kind of nice and cool, and these volumes also contain some color pages, as you can see right there. But, yeah. Very nice build for these books. Definitely, you know, if you're thinking about picking up Monster, the perfect editions are definitely a good way to do that, and they are in that standard Viz Media size for their signature releases, and at $20 for two volumes, it is a pretty decent deal, especially for Monster. Now, I have only read this first perfect edition, but I am very happy to have picked it up. This series, I don't know, there's something about it that is drawing me into it, and I want to continue reading, and I'm happy that I finally decided to start picking this series up. To get into a little bit more information about the series, we start off with our main character pictured here, Dr. Tenma, and he is our protagonist in the story. And basically throughout this first volume is him sort of realizing all of the politics that are at play in sort of this medical world that he is in, because he is, of course, a surgeon, he is a doctor, and he's coming to sort of see the things around him and all of the politics and that kind of stuff that is at play. And he really was not very aware of it for the most part to begin with. However, he is confronted by one of the patients at the hospital rather forcefully, and this sort of opens his eyes to sort of what's going on and sort of the things that may be wrong with his hospital, or the things that shouldn't be happening that end up happening. And, you know, this is like the first awakening for him to sort of see the sort of, maybe this isn't the greatest situation to be in. Maybe I can do something to stop this from happening, and that is sort of, that encounter is sort of what gets this ball rolling sort of in his mind about, you know, what he can do to sort of right the wrongs that have sort of been happening around him. And so this is the catalyst for him to change, as from being just more of a passive character in his hospital that he's in to being sort of active in trying to better things. And what this would lead him to do was some things that his superiors didn't really like, and so they have basically come to the conclusion that they don't like him anymore, and that kind of has some problems for him, because he wants to do as much good as he can, but they're not too happy with him, and they're not going to let him do a lot of the things that he really should be able to do, and this kind of angers him, and he's kind of a little bit upset about that. And while this is going on, he finds himself wrapped up in sort of a murder plot that ends up going down, and so this is all a lot of prologue leading into the main part of the series that happens much after the events that are taking place in sort of the first part of this perfect edition. But yeah, he gets wrapped up in a murder plot, and he's kind of unaware of what exactly is happening. He just knows that a lot of bad stuff is going on around him, and he doesn't really know why, but through a series of events, he finds himself sort of better off than when he once was, and he is now able to carry out his goal of, you know, doing what he thinks a doctor should be doing, which is saving people's lives. And so now that he is in this position, he is going to do whatever he can to save as many people's lives as possible, and sort of these newfound powers that he is using to the best of his abilities to sort of revitalize this hospital and to, you know, return it to its former glory, and, you know, have his name, you know, well, his name ends up becoming sort of a big time name sort of in the hospital, and the patients really, really like him, and so do the staff. A lot of the people around him sort of see him as like one of the better people that they have met in terms of sort of like character-wise and sort of moralistically. But fast forward into sort of the later half, and things start to change, and things start to get extra interesting, and it's what has kept me sort of anticipating more from the series. I cannot wait to pick up the rest of the volumes, and it's just fascinating because this all prologue thing happens several years before the rest of the story even starts to take place, and it's just kind of build up and, you know, background details, you know, who's allied with who, you know, who's, you know, connected to who, either be it, you know, their friends, their enemies, you know, used to be friends, now they don't really like each other very much, but it's just sort of laying the groundwork for the story that is about to be told. And then the second half of this book really gets into the main part of the story, which is very, very fascinating, and Dr. Tenma kind of has to deal with some of his, not necessarily mistakes, but some of the choices that he made, while they may have been right in the moment, he kind of, you know, they've kind of caused a couple of problems for his future self, and so now he's trying to sort of correct those wrongs, sort of make up for his past failings, and sort of, you know, it's more so Tenma looking at himself as having failed rather than, you know, the world being bad and stuff like that, which is very interesting. As you see, the other characters kind of are a little bit of the other way around, whereas Tenma is usually blaming himself and wanting to sort of put the onus on himself to right the things in the world in this story. But yeah, it's a very fascinating story. I cannot recommend it enough, but I can't wait to get into more. But it keeps you on the edge of your seat. You really get to see sort of this battle between good and evil. What is good? What is evil? Sort of, what do the characters represent? And, you know, can evil come from good intentions, and vice versa? So all of the groundwork for this series is really laid in this first volume, and I really want to see where it goes. It really makes me want to pick up 20th Century Boys as well, because that is another Urasawa work, but for now, I've picked up this first volume of Monster, and I cannot wait to get into more of this series. But yeah, for those of you who have been wanting me to pick this up, I've started doing so, and I'm very happy that I have done that. But yeah, excellent series. I can recommend it to literally everyone watching from this first volume. Go pick it up, see what it's like for yourself. But excellent read for this first volume, and I want to get into more. Whenever I end up picking up more volumes, I will probably have those at the highest priority in my to-read list, because the first volume just, I don't know, something about it made me want to read more, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the story is about. So, Monster, this gets my highest recommendation for a first impressions. Again, I cannot recommend it enough, and if you have not read this series yet, I highly, recommend you at least give it a shot. And with these volumes being, very good quality, and, $20, they're pretty inexpensive when you consider the fact that you get 2 volumes in one, and the volumes themselves are quite nice. It's definitely a good deal, and there are 9 of these perfect editions, so, for the whole series retail, $180. Sounds like a lot, but you can usually get them for much cheaper if you shop online and use discount codes, that kind of thing. But at the very least, definitely give this first volume a shot. Let me know what you think of this first volume. As always, for these first impressions videos, no spoilers, please, because, most people do not like to be spoiled, myself included. But, yeah, highly recommend picking up Monster. Highly recommend taking a look into this first volume, and I cannot wait to read more. I can definitely see why this is one of the top-rated series on MAL, and I have only read the first volume, and so I am anticipating it to get even better. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Monster down in the comments below, as well as any other thoughts, opinions, questions, critiques, anything like that. Leave those down there as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and share. And if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my content, you can either follow me on Twitter with a link in the description, or subscribe to my channel and ring that notifications bell. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this first impressions for Naoki Urasawa's Monster. I am Laethas. Goodbye.